a lot of people get discouraged when they try brain retraining or they try doing all the right stuff for a week and the symptoms are still there. And I always have to remind people, like, that's totally okay. That's fine. A lot of people don't realize that. Hey guys, how's it going? Miguel here with CFS Recovery. This video is titled, When Do the Symptoms Go Away? And the reason it's titled that is because I get this question asked a lot, whether it's people in the program or it's people on YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. It's very kind of discouraging when you're doing all the right things, yet the symptoms are still there. And it might feel like things aren't working, that you're not progressing, you're not getting better, even though you're putting in all the work that's needed, even though you're ignoring the symptoms, changing your response to the symptoms, I should say, not quite ignoring them, but, really working on shifting your mindset. And in the beginning, it's very hard to see results right away. And, even 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months down the road, you're still going to have symptoms. And that is the honest truth. It's not going to go away overnight. And think about it. You've had this for probably a few months, if not a few years. So it's not something that you do a few brain retraining exercises and a few mindset exercises and it just goes away. It's not that simple. It takes a lot of repetition, a lot of consistency, and you do have to be kind of relentless if you do have chronic pain in addition to the fatigue as well as the other symptoms. But in this video, I want to talk about primary and secondary symptoms. Now, it's really important to understand this concept because it can be very hard to kind of figure out where you're at in your recovery. And in reality, there is no, set timeline for this. It's different for everybody. It could take, a few months to get better. It could take a few years. It really depends on how long you've had this for, if there's current stresses in your life. So there's so many different factors that go into these primary and secondary symptoms. But I wanted to kind of share this idea with you guys because this will really help you gauge where you're at in recovery. And it'll actually allow you to see things from a different perspective because the common perspective that people have, the common mindset is that symptoms are bad, regardless of what they're feeling, when they're feeling it. They look at symptoms as bad things, when in reality, symptoms will stick around for quite a while and there's different types of symptoms. So let's hop right into this chart here, right? So I have a basic chart. You guys have probably seen this several times on this channel. So there is time down here, and then there is intensity of symptoms. So we have this graph. Let's focus first on the primary symptoms, right? So primary symptoms looks kind of like this. It's going to be a steady decline on the way down if you're doing all the right things. And, this chart is assuming you're doing the right things. You're doing the brain retraining. You're shifting your immediate response to lots of symptoms. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this chart. So we have primary symptoms. They slowly fade away over time. Now, on top of that, you can also have secondary symptoms. So secondary symptoms go up and down. They're pretty sporadic. Sometimes they're unpredictable. They come and go. These are like the really weird symptoms that you feel, which we're going to dive into in a little bit here. But I really want you to pay attention to these two blue and red zones here. So just have a look at this chart and just remember it, like have it burned into your mind so that way the next time you get secondary symptoms that you're able to recognize it. Because one thing that we teach in Recovery Jumpstart is how important it is to become aware of your thoughts and aware of your symptoms and aware not even just of your symptoms, but of your response to your symptoms. That's the biggest thing here. So with primary symptoms, you're going to have brain fog, you're going to have fatigue. There can be this wired buzzing feeling. And to be honest, for me, even after I got out of the hospital, I still had this sticking around for, quite a while. Like maybe some of these things, like I had the wired feeling even a year after I got out of the hospital, even when I was out and about in the world, filming videos, talking to people, going to social events, parties, eating cake, eating at restaurants or family get-togethers. I was still having a lot of this stuff. I was still having a bit of fatigue, didn't have too much brain fog, but those things were underlying. They never fully went away. They were always kind of there in the background. Over time, they were slowly decreasing as I was staying on track and doing all the right things. Now, on top of that, I had secondary symptoms, and these were more, like I said, they're sporadic. They go up and down depending on what I do. And these are more so like adjustment periods. And I talk about this in a lot of my other videos. If you haven't seen any of my videos about adjustment periods yet, then make sure to watch up here. But with this, the secondary symptoms on top of the primary symptoms, those will come and go. Those are all the other strange symptoms, things like palpitations, ringing in ears, floaters in your vision, tinnitus, chronic pain. For me, that was one of the biggest ones, is headaches, burning sensations on skin, leg pain, just aching, shortness of breath. And that's just literally scratching the surface. So those are things that come and go. They're not always there. Sometimes they're more intense. Sometimes they're not as intense. Sometimes they're not even there. But one thing that it takes a while for it to really go away is the brain fog, the fatigue, and that buzzing, wired feeling. So really look at this chart over here. As time goes on, right, you're doing all the right things. You're really becoming aware of your response to the symptoms. You're trying to rewire that. And, these primary symptoms slowly go down over time. Now, the secondary symptoms, those things take about the same time to go away, but they just won't be there the entire time. They're going to come and go. Obviously, if you're in a crash and you really overdo it, then these symptoms go a lot higher. Now, I want you to look at these as adjustment periods as well. So if we look at from maybe here to about here, that's an adjustment period. This window where you're not having as many secondary symptoms, like you're pretty safe, you're pretty good. And this is something that we also dive deeper into in Recovery Jumpstart, how to distinguish where you're at, when to progress, how do you know when to do more, to pull back, and all of those things. But you have the primary symptoms and the secondary symptoms. That's really the main point I want you to take away from this video, is that you're not just going to be symptom-free all of a sudden. You will have some symptoms, especially the fatigue. That's usually one of the last things to go away. On top of that, you're going to have a bunch of other things. So why am I sharing this with you guys? Well, I just wanted to paint a picture here because a lot of people get discouraged when they try brain retraining or they try doing all the right stuff for a week and the symptoms are still there. And I always have to remind people, like, that's totally okay. That's fine. We did not expect them to leave. At least I didn't, because I've been through this before. I understand the science behind it, but a lot of people don't realize that. And even if they do, it takes a lot of reinforcement, which is completely normal. Like, a lot of the rewiring of the brain takes a lot of repetition. Like I said, a lot of consistency and just being relentless in your intention to rewire these things, especially if you have chronic pain. You have to do the brain retraining exercise, which you can watch up here. Very simple. You could do it for 15 to 20 minutes a day. This is what helped me go from being completely bedridden in the hospital, couldn't move, had to feed myself, to being able to, pretty much have my life back within a year. It was a pretty quick progression, but like I said, it did not happen overnight. I had a lot of the primary symptoms. I had a lot less secondary symptoms because I wasn't falling into that mind trap of anxiety and pain. I shifted out of that mindset. And when I shifted out of that, I was able to heal quite a bit. But for this video, people ask me all the time, when do symptoms go away? Well, they're going to stick around for a while. I'll tell you that right now, but it's going to be a lot more manageable as you get better. And even if you have some symptoms, I was traveling. I think I got out of the hospital March 29th, 2018. So that's pretty much April, May, June. In June, so 2 months after I got out of the hospital, I went to San Jose. In September, I went to North Carolina. Then I went to LA. Then I went to Hawaii. Then I went to Mexico. So literally from the moment I stepped out of the hospital, in the next 365 days, I went to 5 different places. And then after that, I went to even more places. I went to Texas. I went to Mexico again. So I went to like 7 places. Bottom line is I traveled a lot after I got out of the hospital. On none of those trips did I feel no symptoms. So all of those trips, I was able to enjoy myself. I was able to go out. I was able to ride around and explore the islands of Hawaii and, go on a hike up some mountains and really have a great time in Texas and LA and really explore. But I still had symptoms, but I knew how to deal with them a lot better. They were a lot lower. They always lingered in the background. And I had windows of time where I had absolutely 0 symptoms. And that will happen as time goes on. We look at this chart over here. This is just a rough sketch of what's happening, but there are windows of time maybe here and here and here where it's like all white. It's all white, right? And as you start to have more windows of no symptoms, you start to feel better. You get out and back into the world and your anxiety is down. Your brain's starting to rewire itself and it gets itself out of the hole. But you have to realize that symptoms don't just go away overnight. They're going to stick around for a while. So, get used to it. I'm not saying accept it forever, but remember this chart over here. Symptoms are going to go down over time, and you have the primary symptoms, then you have the secondary symptoms on top of that come and go. Secondary symptoms come and go, primary symptoms stick around. So that's all I wanted to share today. I hope this makes sense. I'd like to really simplify these topics. I could have gone a lot deeper into this, but I really just wanted to give you guys an overall picture. This is something that we dive deeper into in Recovery Jumpstart. If you did want to apply to that program, people have been seeing lots of progress, having lots of mind shifts. That's really what we're going for here. I actually have bracelets that say one mind shift away. This is something we give out to everybody in Recovery Jumpstart. But that's all I wanted to share today. If you did want to apply to the program, you could click the link down below where you have to submit a form. We don't just let anybody into the program. You have to be a good fit, and it's by application only. We take 8 people into the program. We start the program up every 6 to 8 weeks. So if that's something you're interested in, if you need some extra support, you want to be part of a group of people who are committed to recovery and will pretty much do whatever it takes, make sure you click that link down below and you can apply. If not, just continue watching these videos and applying it. Everything I put on my channel, it can help you get a lot better. The program is essentially just the next step up where I can give you direct support and you're part of that, tighter group of people. We have like a group chat for every Recovery Jumpstart where we're all supporting each other, especially when the secondary symptoms arise, because it can be very daunting, very scary at first. Even for people who are a few weeks into the program, there's still, it causes a lot of anxiety, and it totally makes sense. So sometimes we need those reminders and those things to help keep us on track. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below if this makes sense to you and what kind of secondary symptoms you have, because it's different for everybody. It will be interesting to see what kind of stuff you have and also what you usually do to help deal with those symptoms. But that's all for now. Remember, you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you guys in the next video.